Kagurabachi Chapter 85 is here, and it is more peak cinema. I'm sorry for the delay on this one. I just got back from Anime Expo, so I only just now got to read it, but let's get straight into it. Alright, so the chapter begins with a flashback, one that we've seen many times before. It is Samura standing outside of Iori's door, hearing her crying on the other side, and he can't decide whether or not he should go in. We then cut back to the present where Chihiro and Samura are clashing, and Chihiro has just managed to crack Tobemune. And Chihiro screams, "I will destroy the Sanuchi with this power." And Iori screams out to Samura saying, "Father, but he cuts her off and just says, Suzaku. And instantly Tobemune heals. The crack completely disappears. He then says crow as a bunch of feathers explode out from him. Rose screams out, "We can't see anything," as the feathers basically encompass the entire area. And Chihiro thinks to himself, he healed the blade. And a mass of feathers, this is the same thing I did against Double H, referring to their fight when Chihiro managed to kind of confuse Double H by just flooding the area with his energy. Chihiro continues to think to himself, he fixed the crack in the blade, but he won't open his eyes. He'd rather pretend not to see a path to live. Chihiro then says, Kuro. The narrator then says, just like Samura, Chihiro uses spirit energy to flood the space. The air is dark with a mixture of feathers and goldfish. Only the two of them can detect their surroundings through spirit energy. And then we get this gorgeous panel, this full-page double spread that says, just the two of them. And we see them facing off here. This is so awesome. The narrator continues and says, currently, Chihiro can use Akka to wield Crow. This field, flooded with spirit energy, is now their arena. They can both use Crow to teleport anywhere within its bounds. Chihiro then says, I'll prove it as many times as I have to, Mr. Samura. You're not getting rid of me. And then his hand, his bloodied, injured hand, grips his sword even tighter. And Samura just kind of winces and he thinks to himself, we don't care how badly we get hurt, thinking back to what Chihiro told him in the previous chapter. He then thinks again to that flashback from the beginning of the chapter where he is just standing outside of Iori's room, listening to her cry. And he says, there's no way that this is okay. The two then explode into another clash of their blades, and Samura yells out, you're already injured. And even if you're determined, even if you have that power, it's agonizing, isn't it? Gripping the N10. As long as you go on wielding that sword, the pain will always be there. The enchanted blades and I are relics of a past you should put behind you. Enough. Let it go. As this is happening, we see like the nearby houses and buildings being like destroyed by their clash of power, and Samura is getting flashbacks of a young Iori having to erase the graffiti and basically all of the hardships she went through when she lived with him. And Samura screams out, you two don't need to be tormented by the past. And they clash again. Except this time, Samura gets the better of Chihiro and he strikes true, slashing a huge wound across his chest that just spills out blood. And Chihiro falls from the sky and kind of crumples on the ground. Iori starts running towards them when this happens, and Samura says, only I have to disappear along with the past. And then we get this kind of flashback of dialogue of Chihiro saying, I'm going to be a swordsmith, from a couple chapters ago. And Samura like bends down to grab the N10 from Chihiro's grasp, and he says, from now on, just live your own life. Except then we see Chihiro teleport to one of his goldfish, still holding his sword, now on his feet, behind Samura, ready to keep going. His hand tightens on his sword once more, still spilling blood. He's trying to catch his breath, and he says, I already am. All that I'm doing is living my life the best that I can. We then see again all of these flashbacks of Samura thinking back to when Iori was a girl and all of the hardships she went through, when Chihiro continues and says, and I do that because I have a past that I'd rather die than forget. Samura just keeps flashing back through these old memories as Chihiro continues. He says, I can fight with you. There's nothing I want to throw away, even if it hurts. I'll trample over all of it and keep moving forward no matter how long it takes. We then see that Samura is hesitating for the first time. His hand is shaking as he reaches for his blade. Meanwhile, Chihiro's grip is firm and strong on his, even though it is still bleeding profusely. And just at this moment, Iori finally makes it to them and steps between them. She says, "Hey." But then in the next panel, from Samura's perspective, we see that he's not seeing his daughter, but instead his wife. And she says, "When are you gonna let go of the past and look toward the future?" And Samura says, "Yeah, I know, I already tried that, but in a future where I exist, Iori," and his wife cuts him off and says, "I'm counting on you. I'm counting on you to look after her." We then cut back to the scene from the beginning of the chapter where Samura is standing outside of a young Iori's door and he can hear her crying on the other side. Except this time, he musters up the courage to actually go inside. As he does, he says, "Iori, thank you for protecting me." We then cut back to the present where now it is no longer his wife, but his daughter who stands before him that he is recognizing for the first time. And that is because he has healed and has opened his eyes for the first time. And Samura says, "You've really grown up." And that's where the chapter ends. Wow. Week after week after week, this just continues to be phenomenal. This was handled so beautifully. Like this entire encounter, what it represented, the eyesight, like, oh, just having Iori turn into her mother to kind of just fully complete that circle of him finally accepting it and understanding and being willing to see things from a different perspective, which is then symbolized both literally and metaphorically by him opening his eyes and healing his sight. Like, ah, Okazono, gotta give us, some warnings when you're gonna cook this hard. Like, damn. Also, this art, damn, gorgeous. And that one panel earlier where they were in their own realm, the two of them just fighting off with the crows and the goldfish. Kagurabachi is so good, man. I mean, y'all that made it this far in the video already know it, but I just can't help but say it. It's so, so good. And I'm so glad that this didn't manage to get spoiled for me, even though I'm coming at this one a bit late. But fantastic. The man has finally opened his eyes. What now? What now? Also, just a quick round of applause for our boy here, because the grit that Chihiro showed this chapter, man, just the way he kept gripping that sword. And that's another parallel that I just loved of Samura's hand being the one to shake at the end. Like, I just love this story so much, man. And how much has our boy evolved, being able to copy Crow that seamlessly and basically match Samura going toe-to-toe. Now, he did get sliced up and he basically lost the encounter. Sure, but still, even being able to do what he did at this point, like only just now using that ability for the first time, is crazy. Again, just a phenomenal chapter. I'm really sad I missed out on reading this one live with you guys and reacting with everybody, but I'm very excited to go to the Discord now and just see what everyone said and everyone's thoughts were. So come join us in the Discord if you haven't already. And I also want to give a shout out to Branwyn, who sent this in after last week's chapter, and I apologize for just now getting to it. I am very behind on all of my work since I went to Anime Expo, which is, again, why this video is late. But yeah, I agree with you. There was a bit of discussion after last week's chapter on whether or not Chihiro actually used Suzaku to heal his hand. But yes, I agree with you that he did use it to heal his hand. He just didn't use it very much to heal his hand. Basically just the bare minimum to be able to grip the sword and continue fighting. And I also agree with you that I think we will see Chihiro do some sort of smithing before it's all said and done. It was reiterated, this chapter, that was his dream, to be a swordsmith just like his dad, not necessarily to be a swordsman like he's kind of been forced to become. So yeah, whether, when it will be in the story, what exactly the role will play, we'll have to see. But we do know he still has the hilt of Cloud Gouger, right? And, he's going to be breaking some other swords as he goes along here. So I certainly think there will be a Smith Chihiro arc, maybe for like an Omega Enchanted Blade at some point or something like that. But y'all let me know your thoughts. And again, thank you so much for watching. And again, apologies this one was so late.